In this movie, we're going to be talking about button groups. Now here we have 4 simple buttons with data role equals button on all of them. And they're just anchor tags. What we want to do is group these buttons into a button group. Now in order to do that, we need to give it some kind of wrapping element. So what I'm going to do is make a div around the entire thing. Let's go ahead and indent these. And we're going to set this div to have a data role of control group. Now what we're doing here is we're telling this div to wrap these anchor tags. And we're also telling jQuery Mobile that these anchor tags actually have something to do with each other. They should be grouped together. That's what this data role control group does. If we save this, go over here and refresh, sure enough, now all of these buttons are grouped together. Now you may notice a couple things. First of all, you'll notice that all of the margin between them is all gone. In fact, they're actually sharing a border. This is one border instead of 2 borders. You might also notice that we have rounded corners on the top right, bottom left, and top left. But we don't have any rounded corners here. That's because jQuery Mobile is smart enough to know to add that border radius to that outer element. If we right-click on one of these and say Inspect Element, we can take a look at the actual HTML it builds. We've got this div that wraps everything, and then we have these anchor tags inside. And it knows that this first anchor tag needs the border radius on the top left and top right. You can see that down here, UI corner top. And by adding that class, that adds the border radius on the top right and the top left. Now, when you're using jQuery Mobile, you don't necessarily need to know how it builds the HTML, but I will say that it definitely makes things easier in the long run. It's better to use a tool and know what it's doing than just use the tool blindly. So if we look at the class names here for this anchor tag, you'll see it does have UI corner top defined on it. This one right here does not have UI corner top because it's the second element. So again, jQuery Mobile is smart enough to know that this guy doesn't get rounded corners, but this guy does. It controls all of the styling through CSS. So if you want to go in and change how much of a border radius it gets, you can go into the jQuery Mobile style sheet, find the class that's called UI corner top, and change the radius right here. Now we get a little bit more in depth with this when we're talking about how to theme elements in our lessons on theming. Now, sometimes you might not want to group elements vertically, sometimes you might want to group them horizontally, especially for a navigation or something like that. And so, in order to do that, it's fairly simple. Here we have data role equals control group. Now you add data type equals horizontal. Save that, go back and refresh, and sure enough, now our buttons are laid out nice and pretty in a horizontal fashion. jQuery Mobile has figured out what classes to apply in order to make the border radii look proper, and now we have a nice pretty horizontal button list. So that's it. It really is as simple as wrapping it with a div or some other element, and giving it a data role of control group in order to group all the buttons together, and then giving it a data type of horizontal if we want this to be a horizontal button list rather than a vertical button list. So that concludes this lesson.